2 rounds left to play before our cut to the top 8 here at World Championship 30. Let's find out who we're going to watch do battle in the feature match area here for lucky round number 13. Hey, all right, Kai Budde versus Márcio Carvalho, Demir midrange versus Golgari midrange. Very excited for this. Winning in Kai Budde, the greatest player to ever play the game of Magic, world champion in 1999. Can he do it again in 2024? So exciting. Márcio Carvalho has come in second at 2 world championships, so desperately wants that first for once. I cannot wait for this matchup, Monty. This is going to be great. Tell me about their decks and how they play.
Maria, we're going to start off by taking a look, and I can't believe I'm saying this. Kai Budde's deck is 2024.
Let's go.
We are watching Kai Budde play a win-in for the top 8 of the World Championships. He's playing the Demir midrange that we actually just saw a deck bite from Reed Duke about. This deck is very cool. It feels like a spiritual successor to the Esper midrange of Standard from last year. We do see Enduring Curiosity being the headlining piece of this deck. This card is just incredible. Gives you a lot of card advantage and allows you to play some of these cheaper, more utility creatures like the Dark Cavern Bat, as well as the Siren, the Spyglass Siren, and this deck is really cool. Just get some cheap threats down, and then you can pass mana. You do have this flying creature available to you, but you're also leaving up all of your disruption. On the other side, Márcio Carvalho, this Golgari midrange deck can be really scary, as we've seen in the previous round where he was playing. Márcio doesn't really run out of cards. There is so much card advantage in this deck, and of course, Glissa Sunslayer, the headlining creature here, even if there is only 2 copies, it is one of the most powerful cards in Standard and one of the key reasons to play this Golgari strategy. And we do see just all of these tools adding up together to allow this deck to be so disruptive while never really running out of cards.
All right, who do you like in this match, Monty?
As much as I hate to say it for Kai, I think it has to be Márcio. We saw Reed in his deck bite saying the matchups he's most afraid of are the other mid-range decks that can answer your threats and then land something afterwards. Kai has already picked up 1 loss to Golgari midrange this weekend, and that was in the hands of maybe somebody we don't know very well in Richie Ong, but here he's against Márcio Carvalho, one of the best to play the game, so it's going to be a tough one for Kai.
Well, it might be an uphill battle for Kai, but you know one thing about goats, they're good going up. Mountains. See what I did there? It's round number 13. Marshall and Paul, take it away.
We're going to take it away now. Yeah, thank you. You've had enough, Maria. The mountain goat, apparently, in the feature match. Welcome back to the booth here. That's Paul Chiana, Marshall Cycles. Thanks so much for joining us. As I mentioned at the desk, well, we've got 2 of the better/best players. We've got one of the GOATs, Kai Budde, sitting down there with Demir mid-range. He's facing off, though, against Márcio Carvalho. This is, by the way, Golgari mid-range for Márcio. This is a winning in.
Yep.
This is a World Championship top 8 winning in. It doesn't get any more stressful than this for the players. They seem calm, cool, and collected. Both of them have been here before.
Game 1 is about to begin. A nice mid-range slugfest here between the 2. But as Monty mentioned, I do think I like Márcio's side here. Of course, it's a mid-range matchup. Nobody can be a huge favorite here. But I just feel like Márcio has bigger threats, answers for Kai's threats, and also a few more ways to get card advantage because he has multiple copies of the Unholy Annex, which needs to be dealt with along with the Cosmic Bronco, which requires a removal spell. Additionally, Kai's main way of getting ahead on cards is the 4 copies of Enduring Curiosity that he has in his deck. But the Golgari midrange deck, after sideboard, has access to Terra Sunder, which is a fantastic answer to that creature.
You can take a look at the opening hands for our players here. Spyglass Siren was the first play from Kai. He's going to get in there. And he's got Anoint with Affliction. You and I were chatting about that card earlier today, Paul. So many good targets.
Yeah.
Important targets where that exile effect really comes in.
Yeah, the thing is most decks play maybe 4 copies that go for the throat, 4 copies that cut down, and maybe 1 or 2 anoints. But Márcio's playing 3 copies of that card. I feel like it's just a really well-positioned card in this metagame. Tons of good things to exile. Unstoppable Slasher, Mosswood Dread Knight, and of course the 1-mana red creatures in the Gruul Prowess deck.
This is Caustic Bronco. It is going to get anointed there by Kai Budde, so it's going to get exiled. 2-for-2 exchange, which allows the Spyglass Siren to continue to chip in.
Kai a little flooded here, has
Yeah.
3 steps ahead, and not much else here.
Márcio perhaps relieved to not see Kaito.
Yeah, that is definitely a card that can kind of help swing the matchup there, and a really, really problematic card for Márcio to answer.
Does Kai find off the top of the library? He's fine to just keep chipping away for now.
It's not much of a clock here, right?
It really isn't.
Probably, if you do have that cut down, maybe this is an okay time to just fire one off just to kind of try to use your mana here. Márcio is going to try his best to play around Phantom Interference, which is a counter spell that this deck plays. Kai playing, I believe, 2 copies of the card here, along with the 2 copies of 3 steps ahead here. But Márcio not really just jamming his spells here. Could have run out the Unholy Annex, but choosing not to. Just taking things slow because he has the 2 removal spells in hand.
Yeah, and you see that look on Kai's face. He says, oh, okay, I guess we'll just keep doing this, and eventually it will die.
And that is likely a cut down before blockers.
Right.
So that a ninjutsu does not occur.
And Kai just says land go. He's sitting on the 3 steps ahead. It has to be tempting to fire that off on a draw 2 discard, but he wants to keep the counterspell version, it looks like.
So this could be a decent opportunity for Márcio to run out Unholy Annex, because even if he does, he'll still have access to go for the throat if Kai flashes in something like an Enduring Curiosity.
You see Shoshana's Tidebinder in hand for Kai Budde as well. So he's got answers. This is a key turn. We haven't seen a lot of action, but we're going to see something here for sure.
Yeah. Now,
even if Carvalho passes, Kai's got stuff to do.
Yeah, if Márcio runs out the Annex, you might just see Kai go ahead and use that 3 steps ahead and use the 5 mana effect where you catalog as well, where you counter a spell, draw 2, and discard 1, just to try to continue sculpting his hand here. Tricky spot, though. It's always difficult playing against this Dimir mid-range deck because you have to think, do they have a counter spell? Do they have an Enduring Curiosity? Kai can have anything here.
So we're going to see it. Unholy Annex go on the stack.
There's not too many 2-mana plays that Kai might be concerned about here. Maybe a Bronco, something along those lines. But I feel like a clean counterspell here is pretty good, along with the draw 2, discard 1 effect here.
So he's going to go on a little spree. Finally get rid of one of those extra lands. His hand has definitely improved over the course of the game, and he certainly found things to do with that mana. Now, there's no pressure right now, but as you can see, he's got Enduring Curiosity, cut down. That Tidebinder, oh, he redrew the 3 steps ahead to the other one here, so that's good.
It's great.
And
That's
he could hit his time draw.
It's a second copy, so almost playing like a Dimir control deck right now here.
It does feel like that.
Mosswood Dread Knight is one of the better cards of this matchup, just because it doesn't cost a lot of mana, and it allows Márcio to just continue getting ahead on cards. Really good draw here for Márcio. Kai could even consider countering this, but might just let it resolve, because if you counter this and then Márcio resolves a Glissa or something like that, that could be problematic.
He is gonna let that go. And Márcio just says, well, I'm just gonna try that here.
If you're gonna counter it, you're gonna counter it. Márcio did find a land here to be able to cast Go for the Throat. The Mosswood Dread Knight also just happy to get in front of Enduring Curiosity, because you can just continue getting value. The only way to cleanly remove this is Anoint with Affliction.
He's already used one.
And Kai only has 1 copy.
He has already used the one.
The one.
He had to use it on a Bronco, which wasn't really his preferred target, but also leaving a Bronco unchecked is not a preferred line of play. There it is. Enduring Curiosity is going to hit the battlefield on end step.
Kill the Dread Knight.
And still on end step, we'll see cut down.
I wonder if Márcio's now going to fire off the Go for the Throat before Kai can untap here, because it's kind of a disaster. Yeah, good timing here for Márcio. It's kind of a disaster if Kai gets to untap here and have any counter spell for a removal spell. You get to connect for 4 and draw a card. Now,
see, the Enduring Curiosity has become an enchantment.
Yeah, so it's still in play, so Kai could activate his Restless Reef here, but that kind of taps you out and you can't cast 3 steps ahead, right? You only have 2 mana available. It is a way to draw a card, but it does kind of tap you out.
have 3 cards, right?
3 cards.
If Kai did go for that and just kind of
I don't know.
has a shields down moment, how can Márcio respond? And it looks like he's got an Archfiend of the Dross that he can play.
Good response.
While also drawing a card, because next turn is a turn Márcio does need to at least use the Mosswood Dread Knight to draw a card, or else you will lose it for good.
He can cast it from Adventure here, but he does need to do it this turn.
Great draw here for Márcio at Duress, allowing him to play around a counterspell here. That is rough. That is rough. Now, I wonder if Kai just is going to counter it and draw to discard 1 just to try to find more answers while also not showcasing his hand. But of course, if he does, he's not going to have anything else left in play, right?
That's right.
Which means the door is open for Márcio to resolve his biggest threat.
But Kai would prefer not to just let the duress take it away. He wants to get rid of that land and see if he can reload.
Yeah, I think you want to lead things off with the Dread Knight here because you definitely don't want to lose that. I think it's one of the better cards in the matchup here. So you're probably going to see Márcio draw a card here. If he can find a land, there's a pretty interesting question too. Do you just play the Archfiend of the Dross?
Right.
Or do you play Tranquil Furlback and just kill the Enduring Curiosity?
Right. Kai's still at 20 life. Well, looks like he's just going to go for the Dread Knight.
This Dread Knight's just going to be a problem here.
You said it. You weren't wrong. It's already looped. It's been on the battlefield twice. That's a lot of cards going into the hand here for Márcio, and quite a few leaving for Kai Budde.
Yeah, oftentimes when you see this Dimir mid-range that kind of go off, it's flyer, 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 curiosity. It's a lot rougher when you're playing against another deck with a ton of removal. Just kills all your flyers.
Okay, Unstoppable Slasher is going to hit the battlefield now for Budde.
But Márcio does have a cut down here to kind of slow that down. If he draws one of his 3 Anoint with Afflictions, that'll also be quite strong. But this is a nice little new addition that you see in several mid-range black-based decks, just because when you play against decks like the Domain deck, it's such a huge clock, right? It's specifically against Domain, it's hard to just play the game where you draw a bunch of cards and hope to get there, because at some point they go Cavern of Souls into Atraxa. In this matchup, it's just kind of a sticky threat. It's not as impactful because Márcio can just simply block with the Mosswood Dread Knight. So it's fine, but it's not that great here.
See Fountain Port hit the battlefield for Kai Budde as well. Perhaps he can start.
The modes are when it comes into play, Gation for
after
life.
run 4, destroy enchantment or artifact, exile graveyard.
So it can kill this thing.
It's enchantment.
Kai just clarifying what the frill
And
back.
that's like a triggered ability when it comes into play, or
Is that a triggered ability?
Yeah, why would you be asking, Kai?
You're asking for a friend.
You're asking for a Tidebinder.
so how does this work exactly? Like,
Remind me of the card name, please. Tranquil.
Tranquil Furlback. I know it's a trigger, and I can pay like how many times I want.
up to 3.
Up to all modes.
Yeah, no, I know what it does, but
It's a battlefield trigger.
my question is, when do you have to pay the mana? Like in resolution, or?
I have to pay when it comes into play.
It's an end of the battlefield trigger. I got it. You got it.
Yeah, but
So he pays, the trigger goes on the step.
Yeah.
Kai is wondering if he can counter it.
Right.
But
At what point does he need to cast the Tidebinder?
So
Right.
basically,
because he can definitely counter it for 3 mana with Márcio not paying any mana. What Kai's wondering is, can he get Márcio to pay all 3 green mana to use all the modes and then counter it?
Right.
Of this trigger.
okay.
Once you've done that, that creates an additional trigger, right? You pay this cost 1 or more times, you do this many things.
Oh, wow. The judge is saying it's actually separate.
Can I
triggers that are
ask
created?
something?
Yeah, and then I have to ask something too.
Yeah.
Because that would mean that the Tidebinder would have to pick which trigger to counter.
Right. Yes. I
And,
suppose so.
and then it would
It
shut
is
down the
resolved.
rest of the frillback itself, but that's not doing
Right.
it. It's just stats in.
I mean, the big
And
one you want to
which mode
counter
did you
here
choose?
anyways is the destroy target enchantment effect. The
destroy
4 life
enchantment.
isn't as relevant. The graveyard also not that relevant here, but Kai, of course, just wanting to make sure that Márcio can't follow this up with another big play and would rather Márcio tap a bunch of mana to get a bunch of different effects here. It looks like the Enduring Curiosity is in fact in play, and the Tidebinder is also in play here.
And it's a 3/3.
Man, that Dread Knight just posing all kinds of problems here for Kai, because now, I mean, the slasher just seems kind of embarrassing on this board. What are you going to do, attack and then let Márcio draw another card? Doesn't really work. You could activate the creature land, and so the land has Death Touch. You can kill both of the creatures, but again, Márcio just keeps drawing cards. Now remember, you don't want to map token the slasher, because if you do and you give it a counter and then Márcio uses a removal spell to kill the slasher, it's gone for good.
And by the way, the resolution for that was that the frillback produces one reflexive trigger regardless of whether you pay G, GG, or GGG.
Got it.
Which is good news for the Tidebinder. And yes, the frillback loses its abilities, but
right.
That wasn't really the focus since it's a 3-3.
Yeah. By activating the Reef here. Ooh, we're trying to draw a bunch of cards here.
Yeah, so he's really lined up a big attack. The Reef is going to Javier Carvalho.
Now, Márcio has double removal here, so this is not going to go very well here for Kai. Márcio can kill the Restless Reef, block Tidebinder, and yeah, just go for the throw on the Restless Reef, and Kai gets to draw no cards, doesn't have much else to do this turn, and then Márcio just can use the Mosswood Dread Knight again next turn. He could even finish off the slasher if he really wants, now that it's got the counters on it, with the cut down in his hand.
Solve that problem. He does have time to wait. Right.
With the stun counters.
It just needs to have a counter on it.
Yeah, if Márcio can find a land here, he can go draw a card off the Dread Knight, play the Dread Knight, and play Archfiend of the Dross here.
That'd be a very nice swing in Márcio Carvalho's direction.
Yeah, and that's a Fountain Port, so he did find a land, so he can just do all of the things, and it's not like Kai has a whole lot of pressure here left, right?
Okay. Right.
The 6/6 flyer just kind of blocks all of Kai's deck. Kai needs to find a removal spell for Archfiend of the Dross. Making sure to play around Phantom Interference if he can.
And then afterwards, he's going to follow up.
Right.
With the Dread Knight. And here's
Fountain Port doing its
Fountain
thing.
Port sacrificing a map token to turn it into a clue.
Right. Kai needs a go for the throat-like effect. That would be great here, just to get things started. Hopefully, I think he probably needs 2 good spells in a row here. And it looks like he just drew all lands.
Underground River times 2 in hand for Kai Budde. He's facing a lot of pressure from Márcio Carvalho.
How aggressive? Does Márcio want to attack with the land here as well?
Yeah, this does feel like an inflection point where Márcio may just try to put the pedal to the metal and start attacking as much as possible.
I mean, Kai doesn't really have a whole lot here.
And Márcio doesn't really either.
Right.
Like,
this is an attack.
What else is he going to do,
I
guess?
This is an attack for 13. Likely going to play the Swamp untap so that he can make a token here off the Fountain Port as well.
I don't think it's relevant.
Hey, Cottage comes in.
Can't think of anything.
Dread Knight in the Archfiend.
Yeah, Márcio realizes he said he doesn't think it's relevant. There's just really no graveyard recursion type effect in the blue-black deck.
So he'll just grab a Tidebinder because why not?
Yeah,
by the way,
I like Swamp.
Kai agreed, by the way. He said, I don't think there's anything that matters there.
Yeah. These are 2 of the more known decks. There's a couple. There's room for a little bit of variation, but there's not much. So they know kind of more or less what each decks are capable of.
Kai's going to make a treasure. And are we going to see the cut down now?
Yeah. And remember, because Márcio made the food token, you can still use the Fountain Port to sack the food to draw a card.
Right. So the Cottage doing work, at least on that side of the equation. And there's a cut down for Kai Budde, but it is not going to be enough for game number 1. That's going to go to Márcio Carvalho.
Yeah, and that
a convincing victory. And it's interesting because I go back to when you were talking to us about the Dread Knight, and then it did exactly what you said.
Yeah,
it was just a loop that that Kai was not able to solve, and he cast it 3 3 times, maybe 4.
Yeah, I mean, Anoint with the Affliction is the only real solid answer for that thing, especially because just the creatures in the Dimir deck just don't really block very well. One card that many Dimir mid-range decks usually play is Preacher of the Schism. That lines up really well with it, but this deck, they built their deck to not be Golgari mid-range, but everything else.
Everything has
so
to be
instead of playing Preacher of the Schism, they're playing Kaidos and Unstoppable Slashers, and that lines up much worse against Golgari specifically and Mosswood Dread Knight, the card. And I don't know that it gets much better here, honestly, for the Dimir deck, because now your biggest answer or your biggest card that lets you go over the top is the Enduring Curiosity. Then Márcio now has access to double Terra Sunder out of the sideboard. For 2 mana, you can just exile the 4-mana creature.
That's right. This does seem to favor Márcio. But you know how it goes.
Yeah, it's a mid-range matchup.
It's a mid-range matchup.
If a deck is favored, what are we talking about? 56%?
56 is what I was going to say,
Yeah.
Paul. We're on the same page. This is a win and in for top 8 here at the World Championship if you're just tuning in. We've got a couple more of those going on in the feature match area, by the way. This isn't the only one happening.
Only 2 players locked in so far, right?
Yeah. Mono Red's in.
Mono Red. I am a fan of the Hired Claw, so I'm glad that's getting some love.
Table 8, game 2 is ready to begin.
Yeah, we're going to fill out 3 more of those seats this round.
Ooh, Kai with
and then the last 3 will be filled out next round.
Right.
And I'll tell you about it in a minute, but that's going to get a little messy.
Oh, yeah.
That is going to, there's going to be some disappointed people and some very happy people next round. 7 cards each for our players as we begin game number 2. And just a pair of lands for both players.
Yeah, super reactive hand for both players. Just some removal spells. Márcio just doesn't have a threat here for the time being. Did find a Mosswood Dread Knight. Has to think about what Kai can run out here for 3 mana. Can you afford to just play around Phantom Interference for 1 turn? Do you just try to draw a card here? What can Kai play at instant speed? Anything Kai can play at instant speed, you can kill with the cut down at this point. So not a big deal. We're not at the 4 mana point where Kai can go end of turn Enduring Curiosity. So if you do want to go for something, this could be a reasonable opportunity to do so. Okay.
Both players staying patient.
So passing tells me that Márcio wants to try to play around Phantom Interference. This game's going to go pretty long. But now, with Kai with the Fountain Port, that also kind of forces the action just a little bit.
A little bit.
Because if both players just, well, I see your Fountain Port and raise you my own.
Yeah, Fountain Port is very incremental in the way that it gains, but it counts.
Right.
And in these mid-range matchups, it's really common to see small incremental advantages add up over time and end up being the decider. And here we go again.
All right, the
Mosswood
Dread Knight train
has left the station.
And if Kai goes end of turn Curiosity, Márcio has the clean answer here in that Terra Sunder. So if Kai anticipates that, do you just make a 1/1 here? You know what I mean? Because you know
Right.
Márcio has some removal in his hand. It's at least a go for the throat, maybe a cut down. It could be all kinds of stuff. The only thing he's really worried about is the Terra Sunder. Because if you just use a go for the throat on the Enduring Curiosity, it's not that bad. You still have that effect in play, the card draw effect. So he's going for it.
Decided it's time to run it out there.
No, Márcio's going to just...
I mean, this is what he brought it in for, right?
Yep.
So there it is, Terra Sunder to exile Enduring Curiosity.
Yeah, such a strong card in this matchup, also very effective against. It's just a nice catch-all. You just kind of bring this in any mid-range or slower matchup, and it's just always going to be good. But whenever you get to use the 2-mana effect, it feels like you got away with something.
Especially on something that costs 4.
Right.
And something that's sticky. Like, Enduring Curiosity is hard to get rid of.
Now, Kai found a Kaito off the top. Do you just play it?
Oh, that's interesting.
Now, there is a Restless Cottage, though.
Okay.
On Márcio's side, so I wonder how effective this Kaito even will be. But I guess if
you would get to keep it.
Right.
He is just going to run it out there. Kai Budde plays Kaito, bane of
could tick it up,
nightmares.
right?
That's right.
Tick it up to 5.
He just gets to keep it that way.
Terra Sunder would answer it, but Marcio's already cast one. That was a great draw off the top here for Kai.
Yeah, and you know, the other thing that we have to recognize is that if Márcio does feel compelled to fire up the cottage and attack it, I mean, that's a great tempo swing for Kai. It's not going to kill the Planeswalker, and it's going to use up most of his mana for the turn.
Right. Yeah, that's a tough spot to be. Now, Márcio does have duress. He's going to hope that Kai only has 1 removal spell, and maybe he can run out the demon, but Kai has 3 removal spells, and all of 2 of them answer the Dread Knight. So this Kaito could potentially help Kai take over this game by itself.
Kaito being able to go up to 5 loyalty is coming up very clutch here.
Yeah, take it up to 5 loyalty, and if Márcio just chooses to run out a demon, Kai doesn't even necessarily need to run out a removal spell. Kai can just tap it down. A lot of different options here, depending on what he draws. There's so many good 3-mana options in the Dimir mid-range deck. It's just kind of pick whichever you think is going to be most effective in a particular metagame.
In a metagame,
right?
yeah.
Because every card is good depending on what you expect to see. Like we said, Preacher to Schism would have been a lot better here than Unstoppable Slasher, but Kaito also being fantastic here. But if everybody's playing aggressive decks, Kaito not so good.
Right, and obviously the choices that they made have served them. 9 and 3 playing for top 8.
Absolutely.
So it signifies that they've predicted the metagame at least somewhat well. Márcio really taking his time here.
It's blot out or go for the throat would be my guess. So one of the exile effects here.
Blot out. Kai still has Anoint with Affliction.
Now
Go
Kai,
for the throat and an underground.
right, and Kaito has hexproof on Kai's turn, so Márcio can't even just use a normal removal spell to get it off the battlefield here. Terra Sunder and combat damage are the kind of most effective ways to be able to do this.
And with that in mind, Márcio is going to start building out his board with the Mosswood Dread Knight. Something that can start applying pressure.
And
As it stands, though, Kaito's on 5, like, didn't take anything.
right, and now Kai has the Anoint with Affliction. He's going to try to use this on the Dread Knight, but Márcio does have the cut down, might actually cut down his own Dread Knight to be able to get it back.
Keeps
here.
a loop going.
Right.
That's interesting. How would Kai feel about that? He's going to do it. There's
Right.
cut down.
I mean, he's fine with this because Kaito still attacks.
Right.
You still get to surveil, draw cards.
Yeah. This doesn't tap for black. So I'll take 1, I guess. How does that work? Can I just tap this, or?
You see there was a little bit of a mistap there by Kai Budde, so he's asking the judge how best to resolve it.
Yeah, no island or swamp in play here for the Gloom Lake Verge, so
Right.
it only taps for blue mana.
Now,
So the question is for you.
it looks like
Are you
Underground
tracking
Sea
the
did
problem
get
here?
tapped by Budde, but he didn't take the
So I
life, so
tapped
he
these
says,
two
well, tap
possible
these, can I
black.
just take the life?
Yeah,
That didn't
I
damage
know.
it.
I thought he had black too.
Yeah.
Okay, not a problem. So if your opponent did it properly, he's going to be paying life. Does that change your response or no?
Well, I would prefer to tap this, but that's out of the question.
No, you can. We're gonna fix this one way. Okay, right?
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, he taps the
One
river.
way
Another
takes a
thing is
life
he
and
taps
one
that
way
mana.
doesn't.
Right.
So
Trying
there's
to
the
understand if your response would have been impacted by what your opponent tapped. You understand?
You think so?
Fair enough. So, Kai, have you received any penalties today for any errors?
I got a warning for not decide voting in drafts.
The only one?
Yes.
A warning for you as well. That's for a game rules violation. Marcio, I have a warning for you too.
So they're both going to get a GRV,
For me.
GRV
I would
warning.
have wanted you to have pointed this error out before.
But that's
we-
purely on me.
What?
Really?
Losing life, it's like it's beneficial for me. I just thought he had black. I think I want to call that judge. I think this one is no sense.
Sit tight, okay. We're just
Yeah, so this is kind of an interesting scenario because
Seems like I messed up and you did nothing.
so
No,
you know
why should I
Kai's
get the
saying
warning?
I'm the one that made the mistake, so I
I have
should
zero
get the
warnings,
warning. But
still.
there is a failure to
Seems
maintain
like-
the game state
Right.
angle
get a
to
warning.
this
No,
that
yeah,
both players are
I agree.
responsible for, and it looks like the judge is saying that both players would receive a warning in this case for failure to maintain
But it's
the game state, but it really was Kai.
and it's beneficial for Márcio if Kai takes the damage here.
Well, I
Why would
don't think that they look at that.
No, I mean,
I think you have to maintain the game state accurately, whether it's beneficial or not.
Sure. It just happened so fast, and I think both players just assumed the survival.
And that's probably what they wanted to
the land, so I can't attack with this anyway.
Yeah.
But you know, it is the responsibility of both
I cast
players,
this flexible, but I use this.
not just for their
I was
cards
thinking
in front of them,
if you
but for what
missed
their opponents are doing as well at the end of the day. So that's where that logic comes from. They'll talk to the judge and sort it out.
Yeah, the big thing is you don't want to get this warning now, because if you get a repeat violation, then there could be
Which is which is why they asked Kai, have you received any other warnings today? And he said, I did.
Yeah.
It was a different type, though. I don't think that, you know, ultimately we're talking about like tap one land versus another or one life. It is very unlikely to matter in a big way. But they'll get it sorted out again with the judges. What's going to happen now, then? So they'll figure it out, and either Kai's going to be at 19 or he's going to tap a different land. He gets to rumble.
He gets attacked for 4. He's going to surveil, draw a card, and
he wants to hit some type of counter spell? Like, what is his goal at this point? Just keep this Kaito
It's just
rolling?
to keep the Kaito alive, and right now Márcio just doesn't have great answers. The best way to kill Kaito is with your creatures, and Kai has a Go for the Throat in hand. Kaito also just does a good job of stopping the first creature that you play. The fact that it's on 5 loyalty also means that the rest is cottage will
Judge has brought me up to speed on the situation. We had a incorrect tapping of mana to pay for a spell. We've had a response to that, at which point it was noticed that it was illegally paid for. Court judge assessed. We have a game rule violation. We're going to resolve that. We also have a failure to maintain, which I believe was the reason for the appeal.
Yeah, because
I mean,
it's not on me.
I messed up. It seems kind of strange that he gets a warning.
I shouldn't get a warning when it's beneficial for me if he took damage and I didn't solve, and he didn't solve.
Yes. So in these situations, we treat the game as the responsibility of both players. The fact that part of the reason why we are having to take additional steps to resolve this is because there was a response to this error, that it wasn't caught immediately. So it's, for our purposes, this is something that we are going to do to track that you were involved in this. He's getting the game rule violation warning, and yours is saying that you were involved, but you didn't catch the error when it happened.
So yours matters way less.
Yeah. Yes.
So
it is the correct ruling. I am going to uphold it, and we'll play on from there.
A GRB is very different than
right. So now, would this play out the same way with this type of thing? So we're just going to continue playing. Yes. Thank you.
Yep.
Attack.
Okay, so now here comes Kaito. That was a good explanation by the judge. That is how it works. You know. Remember also, if you're watching along, this is a World Championship. We're playing it at a very high rules enforcement level. It's different than the rules enforcement level that you would play at home or at your local game store.
Yeah. Right, finds a Fairy Mastermind here. Nice little instant speed play here, but Márcio does need to just keep playing all of his creatures. That's honestly the only thing that he can do here. So I imagine it's or find the other Terra Sunder. I believe there's 2 copies.
Sure, let me double check that for you, Paul. But yeah, there are 2 copies.
2 copies. Some decks play 1 main. It doesn't look like that Márcio did. So
yeah, 2 in the sideboard.
But this Kaito,
so
for at least 2 turns, it's going to get value.
So Márcio is just trying to overwhelm Kai's ability to answer the threats, because that's going to be very difficult if Kaito gets to keep connecting.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you could, get this Dread Knight in the way of the Kaito and just kind of block every single turn. But of course, we know that Kai has some removal. Also, Kai had that Fairy Mastermind, which he could have actually played in response to the Dread Knight ability, but maybe thinks Márcio likely has a removal spell, so just chose not to do it, and just running out the fish token here instead. Hey, but that cut down on the Dread Knight is going to be super relevant because Kai doesn't have a good answer to get rid of it anymore.
Here's a duress from Kai, and he's going to see.
So that's auction, right?
Yeah. Only 2 choices, and they're the same card.
Yeah, the Go for the Throat's not all that effective here anyways, so. not a complete miss, but not really changing what Marcio's game plan is here at the moment. I wonder if this is just maybe a turn where you try to tempo out Márcio. Maybe you stun the Dread Knight and attack for 5. Play a Fairy Mastermind, make a token as well with your land, right? Just try to beat down Márcio. You do have the Go for the Throat for the Archfiend that Márcio can follow up with, which he's extremely likely to play next turn.
Right.
But looks like Kai going for the value plan here instead.
Sacrifice, draw a card.
So the fish token gets blocked, but it's going to get sacrificed to the Fountain Court to draw a card before damage happens, and then Kaito's going to connect.
Looks like he's going to try to find some more. Ooh!
Was that an Anoint?
That was an Anoint.
Anoint with Affliction.
Which is quite nice here. That's also 3 steps ahead. Could just keep both, right? Could just keep both. Oh, doesn't even want the Anoint here. Choosing to keep the 3 steps ahead here. Has Go for the Throat and 3 steps ahead here available. And Márcio has no play here. Kaito just winning all the games.
Yeah,
that we're doing at least.
This is a reflection of what we saw this morning in Limited. The ability for Kaito to carry a game until dealt with is really impressive.
Absolutely.
You can see why Kai has decided to play 2 of these. And there's the Fairy Mastermind on end step.
Yeah, and that gives Kai an even greater chance of being able to connect, deal damage, and then activate Kaito for more value.
It's going to soak up a Go for the Throat. Still on end step there for Márcio, so now we go to Kai's turn.
But no more Go for the Throats that Kai knows about, at least. Does have Restless Reef as well as something that can potentially attack, but looks like it's just going to be Kaito here.
Ooh, we've got a backup Kaito as well.
Yeah, we got a little fish here.
Just going to soak up the damage.
To prevent the card draw here from Kai. Kai doesn't really have much more to do here, but can just go land Fountain Port with 3 steps ahead backup. He can actually cast 3 steps ahead and make a token if he wants. Has to decide what to do with the Kaito here, though.
Right.
Do you still just want to Surveil 2, or do you just want to Emblem again? All right.
Emblem again.
With the backup Kaito, that kind of makes sense. Even if Márcio finds a way to kill this Kaito, the next one's still going to be huge.
Yeah, emblems carry over.
I don't believe there were any other ninjas.
Rest off the top for Márcio.
Yeah.
So likely to see that start things off. That will take that backup Kaito plan out of the equation.
Right. So you can even go Duress, and then you have the potential to attack with the Restless Cottage and the Mosswood Dread Knight here. But it'll definitely depend on what Kai chooses to do. Do you go 3 steps ahead? Do you just counter it? Do you draw 2, discard 1? If you draw 2, discard 1, then you can't utilize the Fountain Port for anything. It does still give you access to Go for the Throat, which you might be interested in casting anyways. Right, so
definitely, it just feels like the Kaito is such a great insurance plan here.
Right.
So it'd be worth protecting, but no. Kai is going to show his hand, and Márcio can take actually any of these.
Okay, taking the Go for the Throat here. Okay.
And you see the 3 steps ahead in the Kaito are what's left over. So Márcio has a lot to slog through here.
Absolutely. Now Kai does have a Restless Reef to block with a ton of mana. He can actually activate the Restless Reef, block, and still make a token afterwards.
Oh, with the Fountain Port too.
Or block and just cast 3 steps ahead, so Márcio actually choosing to do nothing here.
Give me a fish. Yeah, I mean, Márcio just didn't really have any play there.
Yeah, I mean, given the 3 steps ahead, he's just not running out the draws here. Maybe waiting for another Duress here.
Right, no reason to just throw it away.
Remember, Kaito's still a creature. It can die if Márcio double blocks. It doesn't have indestructible. It's just a 5/6, I believe, here.
Yeah. Kai draws Dark Slick Shores.
Can you tick it up? How big does that become? So it's right now 5/6. It becomes a 6/7. Still not big enough to attack through a 4/4 Restless Cottage plus a Dread Knight, right? You can kill both of them off, but you would lose your Kaito in the process.
Which, maybe?
Could be worth
Another
if you want to follow it up with the other Kaito with the 3 steps ahead here.
Turn your Kaito into a removal spell.
Yeah, I'm dead.
It happens.
Oh, did Kai say go and
I think
not
he
use
said
Kaito?
go and didn't use Kaito.
Oh, that's rough.
I was
Never mind.
waiting to say something because I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I kind of saw him say go and then shake his head.
I heard him
But
say,
might-
I'm bad. So I think
yeah.
that means he
He
forgot
gave
to
up a
use
free
Kaito.
surveil too.
And that's huge in this type of
Right.
matchup.
You need to maximize your draw steps at this point. And we saw that. I mean, Dark Slick Shores was the card drawn here from Budde. Not what he wants.
And Marcio, if you're on Marcio's side, you just got to be thrilled here, right? Kaito, not actually getting Kaito this turn, still able to make a fish.
Yes.
It was looking really bad, and now maybe there's a glimmer of hope here.
Yeah, I mean, Kai didn't have that much he could really do, but except for just activate for 0, but it matters.
And that's a second Fountain Port.
Really? Yeah.
So strong in these mid-range matchups.
These mid-range matchups just come down to stuff like this all the time. In fact, we're going to see it activated from Budde right now.
Yeah, now is Kai on the make a fish plan, or is it crack a fish to try to find something else plan? Marcio just not playing the Archfiend into the 3 steps ahead here. He's like, you know what, I'm just fine just making a bunch of little fishies here.
And he
You
has
don't
so,
really have good attacks.
Right, he has so much mana that he can just wait to find 2 threats and try to overwhelm Kai's ability to counter.
Right.
If he finds a duress before that, it's great. Yeah, he is actually going to dig deeper. This is where if he finds something nice, he can forgive himself a bit. Yeah, there's Shauna's
That's a
Tidebinder.
relevance card. Not super strong on the board currently.
Right.
What Kai really wants is a flying creature, maybe, just to start pecking away, because Marcio's got the ground covered, but not the skies.
And at least game 1, Kai has quite a few flying creatures, but perhaps something post-sideboard has been removed. I don't know.
I just want to see 7 emblems in play at one point. I just, you know, I'm just going to keep ticking this up. My
It's a
Kaito's
10,
going to be
11.
so big.
Go.
Plus Kaito, some more emblems, please, if you have. I'm sorry.
Just one more.
How many Kaito emblems do you think they brought?
Yeah.
At least 3.
Our judges might be getting a little hot under the collar trying to figure out if there's enough. It is not normal to see 3 Kaito emblems on the battlefield, but here we are.
But Marcio also, remember, every time you make a fish, you take 1.
It is, and
so
Marcio's going to fall down to 6 here. Life total is dropping.
Getting low.
And Kai's at a comfortable 18 life, so there's no real obvious offensive opportunity for Márcio.
So Marcio just needs to make sure he doesn't go low enough where maybe out of nowhere Kai just flashes in Fairy Mastermind or something like that and just gets in for 2 damage there. At some point, he might be interested in cashing in these fish for cards.
Right.
It's a Bronco. I imagine you're just going to run that one out. You don't mind if that one gets countered.
Marcio's got a bit of an aquarium going over there.
As long as you have enough mana to activate. Because the thing is, I think Marcio still wants to use the mana that he has to just keep activating the Fountain Ports. So he's probably just got to count his mana here. 3 lands plus Fountain Port, 3 lands plus Fountain Port. Do you have 10 lands in play? It looks like he's got 9. So what he can do, though, still, is play a Bronco, make a token, and then... Oh, wow.
And this is going to be Tidebinder on the activation.
Okay, just kind of, it's kind of a tempo play. Marcio just doesn't
It
attack.
doesn't affect anything.
It just doesn't turn into a creature land this turn.
Because it turns back to a land.
The ability gets countered.
Thing doesn't matter anymore.
The triggered ability gets countered.
Right,
Yeah.
but he can't activate that one anymore, right?
Is that true? Perhaps.
Next time I can
Yeah, but he's got the other one in
Yes.
place.
He does have another. Hence that one.
Right.
Artifact creature in Planeswalker is the only thing against them.
Yeah, I don't imagine
Yeah,
Marcio's
just
interested
Yeah,
in
so
that.
artifact, creature, planeswalker
Ask.
are the only ones that it loses.
Right, yeah.
You can counter any ability, but it only takes it away from artifact.
Would you like to counter this? If you counter this, I will play my demon.
And Budde says, sure, you got the Bronco.
End of your turn, pay one, make a fish.
17.
These fountain ports doing some serious work on both sides here. Nice new addition. Now we're now living in a world where nobody's playing Esper midrange anymore, right? We just see these 2-color decks, so you have enough lands where you can kind of squeeze 2 copies of Fountain Port into your deck, and it's not much of a cost.
That's 6.
It's like a Dark Slick Shores here for Kai.
Yeah.
What do you think? Is it emblem time?
How does one player or another break this stalemate is what I want to know.
Yeah, so on Kai's
The
side,
flyer thing you said makes
yeah, so on Kai's side, it seems to, there's flyers. He also has 2 copies of Shieldred in the sideboard.
Ooh,
I don't know if he would bring it in, but
look at this attack. He actually minus Kaido to freeze up the Mosswood Dread Knight for a few turns.
right. Marcio is at 6.
Yeah,
Just a couple.
Kaido's just lethal,
Right.
so that must be.
So that's going to get blocked by a fish, and then Marcio likely is going to sack that fish to draw a card.
And then the
Then-
Tidebinder gets.
You could double block the Tidebinder,
Just take it down.
or just block with the Bronco.
You're
That's
not going to be doing that anytime
right.
soon anyway, right?
Because you need to saddle it up, and the Dread Knight's tap down.
Right,
So just blocking it makes sense.
it does, especially if you're at 6.
Doesn't have trample, right?
Doesn't have trample. Good question, Marcio. Did Marcio finally find another duress? That Archfiend's still just sitting in hand.
Yeah, but not that much was accomplished off that attack.
No, not really.
The thing is, the Kaito still lived. You got, and you got to tap down the Dread Knight, but
Yeah, it looks
probably
like
not really adding too much more here.
it was not a duress. It's just another Archfiend. Well, one of them gets countered, the other one doesn't, right?
True.
No, 6, 8,
6,
6, 7.
But now, but Kai found a go for the throat here.
Yeah.
So now he can counter one and kill the other one.
Yeah. So,
So we're still playing the Fountain Port game, it
Just gonna pass-
seems.
Yep, both players, in fact.
But Kai's got a way more life, but only 1 Fountain Port. But he's got that Kaito. But for the time being, because there are 2 fish tokens in play on Marcio's side, he can simply just choose to block sack for a little bit here. And now Kai's starting to draw some action. Another 3 steps ahead here.
Ooh, that's looking good. And Kai. Oh,
Oh.
he's getting in with both fish
Oh,
and the Kaito.
So the reason for this is that if one of them doesn't get blocked, Kai can pick up one of the fish tokens and attack for a lethal Kaito that has.
Oh, he's just trying to get
Marcio's
through
at 6.
for ninjutsu because the emblems are there.
Right. And Kai has a go for the throat. Is this just game? If
It depends on if Marcio activates that
the
cottage.
other one, right? If you so Kai's probably going to go for the throat this one,
before blockers.
Before blockers.
and then Marcio needs to activate the other cottage here.
Yes.
Or he just loses, I
He
think.
loses on the spot.
He's got to be mindful of it.
Marcio knows too.
He's like, this is really aggressive. You have to have another Kaito here.
Right.
Remember, there's
He
only-
actually knows about it.
Oh, okay, through the duress, sure,
Yeah.
sure. Yeah, so, and if that's the case, then he doesn't die. Because
We'll have 3
because
blockers.
Kai's got 3 steps ahead, but that doesn't really affect anything here.
No, there's 3 blockers there.
And then you block, yeah, you use that. You want to block with that
and then you
fish,
just
right?
trade the other fish.
Yeah.
Wait, he didn't do it.
He didn't do it.
Oh,
Did he
he
know
must have forgotten. No, he knew about it.
Did he?
Yeah, he duressed him, right?
I don't know. I think he might have drawn that one. I'm not
Oh,
sure.
he made it drawn that.
I
Oh,
feel like
okay.
if he knew about it, he definitely blocks.
Yeah, for sure. That does seem to be the case. Wow, Kai Budde evens things up against Márcio Carvalho.
I found
Now, I mentioned earlier that we have other top 8 contention matches here in the feature match area, so we're going to jump over to one of them. Don't worry, we're not going to miss anything. We're going to get back to Budde and Márcio Carvalho as well. But let's take a look at Lucas Duchow versus Pham. And again, they're in the same position that Kai and Márcio are playing for, which is top 8, winning in.
Huge Lucas Duchow with some top finishes here. One of the more accomplished online players. If you ever play against him online, you know you're going to be in for a rough time, and he's translating that success now onto the tabletop.
This is game number 2 with Pham up a game over Lucas.
On Domínguez versus Gruul Prowess.
That's right. Gruul Prowess on the play here for Lucas.
No one drop. Now Lucas on the kind of quote-unquote slower version of Gruul Prowess, which was the more popular version coming into this tournament. Only a handful of players playing the Leyline of Resonance version. Ooh, Deep Cavern Bat. That's going to be pretty rough because there's only one creature in Lucas's hand in the Manifold Mouse, right? There's a Snakeskin Veil and a Might of the Meek, so if you just bat away the creature, Lucas just doesn't have anything to play.
Bunch of pump spells and nowhere to go. Innkeeper's Talent doesn't look so hot with no creatures either.
Just take the creature. Lucas needs a nice creature off the top. Emberheart Challenger would be probably the best draw here.
Find any threat here for Lucas?
Oh, found something. There you go, 3/3 with the Snakeskin Veil and Might of the Meek available. Hey, great draw for Lucas.
That will work. Wow, Lucas really needed to find a threat there, and he did. I mentioned before that these players are playing for top 8. You can see the 9-3 record. If the loser of this match will drop down to 9-4, and there are going to be a lot of people on 9-4 next round.
Yeah.
And they're going to be playing for top 8.
I think I was told 10.
Potentially there. Yeah, 10 of them. And there's going to be 3 slots. So you can do the math there. Not quite enough to go around.
Might of the Meek here.
Just to get a card going plus the +1/+1 counter.
But that touch is kind of problematic here, right? The Unstoppable Splasher just kind of gets in the way pretty well. What can you... Oh, wow. Jeez, now you can give Double Strike and Trample to the Heartfire hero, and it's going to get 2 counters here, one from the Innkeeper's Talent and one from the target. So now we're looking at a 6/6 double striking trampling haster. 2 turns ago, Lucas had no creatures in hand.
This is incredible couple of draw steps there for Lucas, trying to even things up against Pham.
Take 12?
I was like, sure, I guess I go to 9 somehow? Like, this looked good 2 turns ago. I have a Death Toucher out
what
against
happened?
your pump spell deck, and somehow I'm at 9.
Yeah, Ha would love, maybe an Anoint with Affliction, some kind of removal spell. Just at this point, even just a spot removal spell is kind of brutal, right? You take 6 damage if you kill the Heartfire hero right now.
And that's approaching lethal with Ha at 9.
Can get up to 10 here. The bat never blocks. So I imagine that one's getting in. The Slasher, you kind of want to attack with it as well. Ooh, maybe the bat will stay back here, and Ha's going to just try to win the game here with the Slasher. So now the question for Lucas is, do I just take this here, or do I chump with one of my mouse tokens?
Yeah, I mean, it's
a big hit.
Huge hit. The Unstoppable Slasher is a fantastic clock. It somehow plays both sides of the court very well, right? It's a Death Touch blocker with a decent amount of toughness. And when it actually connects, well, you can see what happened right here. Down to 8 goes Lucas off of 1 attack.
I mean, Ha has to have some interaction here. Ooh, that's one of the best ones.
Into the Flood Moth for the bounce. That means that all those counters disappear.
All that hard work. All that hard work.
I mean, Lucas has made this a game, but Into the Flood Maw was a great answer to that situation. You also saw Pham main phase that.
Yeah, so now Lucas can give both of his tokens double strike to attack through the bat, and then also put a counter on one of his creatures, or you can play the Heartfire hero and try to put some counters on, target that and put some counters on that.
So let's see what Lucas wants to do. counter and target the attackers.
Okay, so they both have double strike would be my guess here. If you block there, then Lucas gets another manifold mouse here.
Right. This
Takes
is
2.
adding up.
Takes 2. I wonder if Ha has any sweepers in the sideboard. A mass -2/-2 effect would be really nice here. Now remember, Lucas still has a Snakeskin Veil in hand, which makes removal very, very tough. Ha would need multiple removal spells here to deal with Lucas's board.
2 Malicious Eclipse.
That would be very strong here. Although Lucas could use the Snakeskin Veil and target the Heartfire hero, and that one would survive.
Save that.
Yeah. And now Innkeeper's Talent is on the 2nd level here. So now anything with a counter costs 1 more to target. At this point, Lucas has so much mana, could even go up to level 3, right?
Yeah.
Then you can start doubling counters on things, which is very strong with the Heartfire hero.
Oh, boy, look at this. Pham's tacking again.
This will connect for 2 and then 3, which would put Lucas down to 2.
Yeah, that makes the slasher lethal. Must block after that if he takes it.
Oh,
And
he takes it down to 2. Could have blocked with the hero. If it dies, you go down to 6. Oh, and that's a Shieldred
and that's
lethal.
Shieldred. That's lethal on the draw step.
Yep.
And that's going to do it. Pham secures the top 8 seat. Oh, my.
Wow.
That was a great finish there. It almost looked like Lucas was going to come back, but instead he ends up extending the hand, and Pham claims our 3rd top 8 seat here. And look at that fist pump. That is how you do it.
Without removal, right? Just unstoppable slasher.
Yeah.
Connect twice and just jam the Shieldred.
Yeah, Dimir aggro, as it turns out. I was just like, I don't know how I just did that.
I mean, Lucas did a crazy job coming back in that game. He didn't have any creatures and was able to find back-to-back creatures there to put himself in position. But, I mean, that unstoppable slasher, it's just been so impressive over the course of this weekend.
Yeah, it really looked like Lucas might be able to come back and seal the deal, but it was not to be. So he's going to drop down to 9-4 and enter that fray. We've got unfinished business here. We've got Kai Budde and Márcio Carvalho, game number 3 to show you. As we mentioned, Dimir midrange versus Golgari midrange. It's kind of like, what's your favorite flavor? You know, these are similar archetypes as in terms of how they approach the game. They do it in a little bit of a different way. Kai Budde finally, after having really had to grind it out, game 2, gets across the finish line and picks it up. And that's going to force this game 3 decider between Márcio and Kai.
And both players.
Siren once again to start things off.
Both players keeping 7 here. That's great.
Some really interesting potential here as well. Paul, Kai Budde, with a win here, would secure the top 8 and potentially throw a bit of a wrench in the works for the Player of the Year, which is really interesting because it's named after him, among other things. And, you know, if anybody watched the last Pro Tour, you know, you'll have heard the kind of sad news, you know, that Kai's facing some very difficult medical challenges these days. And, you know, we don't know how many more tournaments we'll have Kai with us. So just getting a chance to see him in this environment is really, really special. I mean, this is where he flourishes. And I would not be happy if I was in the top 8 and Kai said, hey guys, I made it, because he does extraordinarily well.
He's a closer.
He's an absolute closer. He's not even remotely close to the best closer in the history of Magic.
But he's got a lot to fight through here. That's a Bronco into Sentinel, and you got to connect with it here. And that's the thing. The creatures in the Golgari deck are simply just bigger, so it's just really hard to race with your flyers. Now, Kai does have the Kaito, but in this instance, Márcio has a couple of creatures here. Will the Kaito be enough this time?
I think so. Based on last game, I mean, that was kind of all Kai had for like a really long time, and it actually worked. Oh, he's going to take a defensive stance here.
And Márcio
actually
doesn't have a removal spell here.
Not yet.
Oh, he's got a cut down. Never mind.
Does have a cut down, so that's really a great answer for the slasher.
Yeah, and he can play. Yeah, can play so many different spells here, right? You can go cut down, play duress even, or Dreams of Steel and Oil, and play the Mosswood Dread Knight to saddle the Bronco and get in for 5.
Wow, Dreams of Steel and Oil plus cut down this turn. Those are 2 very big steps towards the top 8 here for Carvalho.
Oh, found a land
and
here.
He even hit a land off the map. Kalissa Sunslayer's in hand too.
That's also.
This hand is incredible for Márcio.
Cut down, okay.
It's going to come back with a little sleepier.
Right. Yeah, that attack.
It's going to go Dread Knight.
For 5. What does this reveal?
Saddle.
Take another one.
It's just a duress though. That
6 damage.
Wow, Carvalho's looking in really good shape for this top 8 here, Paul.
Now, Kai does have Enduring Curiosity, doesn't have the second blue source to be able to run it out next turn. Even if he did, what do? You attack with the flyers and you still just have a 4/3 back to block? It's just going to chump a Sentinel here.
Right. This has been such a fast start for Márcio Carvalho.
That is a second cut down. Does have the ability to kill the Bronco and slow down the Dread Knight.
Oh, Kai perhaps digging for a land there with the map, but he doesn't see it.
Has a Fountain Port still in hand to play, but definitely wants a second blue source at some point. But this just might be too many powerful, efficient creatures on Márcio's side. We're looking at these 2/2 flyers versus just all these 2-drops that give you value on Márcio's side.
Wow. Kai continues to send his creatures sideways. How does he get out of this? Because Márcio Carvalho has definitely planted his flag on this game and said, I'm going to take the lead, and it's up to Kai to try to take it back from him. It looks very difficult for him.
And Márcio's just going to lead with a duress here, most likely, just get perfect information, and Kai's going to be kind of forced to run out these cutdowns here, I think, on both of the creatures. Lose the Kaito here, even.
And the Kaito ends up getting duressed.
Yeah, the Kaito ends up getting duressed, and all he has is this Enduring Curiosity, but that did slow down Márcio a fair amount.
Yeah, I mean, you got to feel that if Kai can find that second blue source, get a hit in with Enduring Curiosity, and still survive the turn cycle, that could put him in a good position.
But Márcio has 2 awesome plays here. He can go Dreams of Steel and Oil, get your Enduring Curiosity, and play Glissa, or just play Archfiend of the Dross. What do you do to Archfiend of the Dross? Kai doesn't have a removal spell.
Right, and it also completely stops the attacks.
Right.
Yeah, those are both awesome plays. The Unstoppable Slasher still has a counter on it, so it's not going to come back for another turn cycle.
Looks like he just wants to get the Curiosity out and run out Glissa.
Is it Steel thing or?
Just so efficient, this Golgari deck.
I mean,
right?
look
just
at this
all
mana
one-mana
use.
plays.
Perfect mana use here yet again for Márcio Carvalho, where Kai Budde has had to leave some mana fallow a few times. Kai's at 7.
What can he even find here? A Kaito, maybe, to tap down the Glissa to kind of stick around. But you have the Sentinel. Even if you keep the... Yeah, you're just attacking here, it seems. Maybe make a Fountain Port to chump the Glissa, and that's kind of all he has available. So if that's the case...
That's 6, take 3.
If that's the case, Márcio wants to run out the Archfiend first, because if he blocks, he still takes 2 damage from the trigger from the Archfiend.
Right. And it looks like Márcio doesn't have any other place anyway.
Right, there's no Restless Cottage in place, so I think you just run out the Archfiend and then just attack. It seems
which would leave Kai at 1?
He would take 3 and then another 2s. And then one
then
from
one
the...
off of
yeah,
the
so that would put him down to 1. And you have to deal with Glissa, Archfiend of the Dross, with 1 draw step. That's just not possible.
Márcio Carvalho looks like he's going to be able to secure a top 8 seed, yet another one for Márcio. Remember, Márcio has made the top 8 of the World Championship multiple times. In fact, he's made the finals twice.
For all the accomplishments that Márcio has, and it's a ton, never won a national event.
Yep.
So this could be another opportunity here
And if you're going to win one,
World Championship?
yeah,
that's the one.
Good place to start, let's just say. Oh, boy.
Yep.
And there's the Archfiend pre-combat. Also, the land coming in was a cottage as well. This is getting overwhelming. And you
Everything's lethal.
Yeah, you can see on Kai Budde's face, yeah, that's a lot.
This is removed for.
Down to 3.
Oh, didn't attack, actually, it seems. Right?
He perhaps just saying, I just need to make sure that the slasher doesn't hit me, and then I'll kill you.
Right, because Márcio is at 7 life here.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, he has such a good attack force next turn.
Right. And Glissa does a great job of blocking the slasher.
Right.
Oh, Sentinel attacked, I believe.
Right, it has vigilance. But really the
Glissa staying back
there.
to block the slasher. This is just so much, though. Every single creature is a lethal attack here from Márcio's side. Everything has 3 power. Kai's at 3. He finds a land. Now he's going to keep the slasher back on defense here. The Archfiend of the Dross just attacks, and Kai just has to chump block with the Siren, go down to 1. Can't even use the Fountain Port. You can only use the Fountain Port to crack that fish, maybe.
Right. And that's not going to get you anywhere.
Oh,
that's exactly what's happening, though.
Not ideal. And the
down
trigger.
to 1.
Oh.
Nowhere to go for Kai Budde, and Márcio Carvalho secures yet another top 8 at the World Championship level. And he's going to have another run at it. Huge celebration there for Márcio. Now, for Kai Budde fans, that drops him down to that 9 and 4. We're thinking there's 10 of them. There's going to be 3 slots by the time we're done with this round. So win and see what happens.
Win and 60% shot of making the top 8.
Right, it's a tiebreaker situation at that point. And take a look at Márcio's team, family members, friends, giving him a huge hug and a big congratulations on yet another top 8 here at the World Championship level. Super impressive from Márcio. It can't feel great to go, okay, I got to win it, and you sit down and it's Kai.
Of course, of course.
He was able to get through.
But
we've got, oh, go ahead.
Oh, but you know, at the very least, I know you're playing against one of the best, but it was a favorable matchup, right? That's the matchup you want to play against.
Yep.
And I'm sure when he got paired against Kai, he's like, you know what, at least I know that if I play my best, I'm going to have a really great chance here.
That's right. Speaking of, we got a little more action to bring you here from our feature match. I mentioned that there were 3 win-and-ins happening. We've got Javier Dominguez and Eli Kassis facing off against each other. That's Demons versus Azorius Oculus in the hands of He has a similar build to what Shotiasa Oka built, actually. They share a few cards that were not standard for the deck until this tournament, though they did not test together, so they either found them completely independently, or you know, sometimes there's a little grapevine, sometimes there's a little, hey, this deck won a league, what's this guy doing?
Right, right. Yeah, founding the third path was kind of the innovation for both sides, which gives you way more consistency at being able to find the combo or get an Oculus into play as early as turn number 3. So this is a really interesting matchup because the Demons deck plays a lot like the midrange deck, maybe slightly more on the controlling end of the spectrum here, so can find lots of ways to kill the Oculus. But at the same time, we've seen the Oculus deck doesn't really need that many resources to win, right? And if your hand is full of a bunch of clunky spells, you just get an Oculus in play with some counter magic, and that's it.
We saw Kaito carry a huge portion of the win share, I would say, for some of the decks that we've seen, and Oculus can do the same.
And here's the Bronco actually doing work, because in this matchup, your life isn't as important because Eli Kassis' deck chunks you, right? So it's not like you're playing against a mono red deck where the attack trigger's painful. In this instance, the Bronco, very, very nice. You still want to avoid hitting Unholy Annex, though. Taking 8 damages. A little painful.
A little bit painful.
A little bit.
You'll note here that this is game 3 between our 2 players. So this is a game 3 decider for top 8.
No big creature here in the graveyard for Eli Kassis. Is that a, what is that, a sleight of hand?
Yes.
Okay, just, ooh. And that's a Monastery Mentor.
Monastery Mentor?
Yeah, and that's a, oh, he hit the Annex.
Oh, no. Annex was on top. That's the 8.
Against a turn 3 Mentor. Javier better have a removal spell for this Mentor. But that, when you play with fire, sometimes it can burn you.
Oh, boy. Oh, but it looks like
he blocked.
Ely maybe either assumed it may die or has a different game plan going.
Well, he probably
down
has
to
a
10 goes Domínguez. Yeah, or just gets it back. Maybe get it back, play a thing, make a couple of tokens.
Right.
There it is. It's tapped, but its friends won't be.
Maybe have some follow-up spells here.
Definitely.
Okay, sleight of hand. Mentor going off here. This is a common sideboard card here in these Azorius Oculus decks where a lot of decks bring in Graveyard Hate to kind of combat your reanimation stuff. And you go, you know what, if you want to play that game, I can just play kind of a mid-range deck that wins with the Mentor.
Yeah, I bet you don't have many sweepers. Here's a board state.
Right.
This looked really good for Javier. And now all of a sudden it looks really sketchy. He's lost half his life total in one turn cycle. And he's facing down a really annoying threat.
Yeah, and I think Ely actually has a backup helping hand here. So if Javier kills this Mentor, Ely can just get it back again.
And get some prowess triggers going.
Ely does, I mean, a demon would certainly help. I believe he can just flip it here now if he wanted, but it looks like he has a lot of options here. I see a Gix's command maybe, which would be pretty interesting, although it's kind of risky if you just use the, I imagine you're going to go kill all creatures with power 2 or greater, or 2 or less, and then kill the highest power creature so that Ely can't respond and cast some kind of spell here to pump the Mentor.
To grow it up
enough. This is probably the most important turn here. What Javier does here to try to combat this Monastery Mentor that's in play on Ely's side. You live by the Bronco, you die by the Bronco. Deadly Cover-Up is a card that's in Javier's sideboard.
Yeah, it's just going to be go for the throat, but this is exactly what Ely Kassis wants to see. Because as long as the Monastery Mentor is just going to the graveyard, he can keep just buying it back. Oh, it's going to get negated here. There is a prowess trigger.
There is, so that's a hit for
maybe I spoke too soon about being able to just keep buying it back. I guess negate takes care of it.
And Ely doesn't have a counterspell, it looks like?
Does he have
a follow-up?
Oh, another Monastery
Mentor for days.
I was right. It does keep coming back, although this is a slightly different one.
But Javier's at 6 now. He has to make a demon here, I'm pretty sure. Ely's tapped out?
He has to make a demon just to try to not die to his own Annex here.
Oh, that is a Gix's command.
It is Gix's command.
Okay. And because he's tapped out, doesn't have to worry about a spell. Okay, how many times has Javier killed the Mentor here? Now he's down to 4, though.
3. Yeah, four of them have gone.
If Ely can just find a way to kill the demons, like he can just win.
Yes.
He just has some bounce spells for some demons.
Totally.
The Unholy Annex could just kill Javier here.
Yeah, win condition acquired.
Right. That's
what a weird game. This has been a very sideboard game.
Right. That's a recommission now that he's found, so you can get the Mentor back again.
Oh, you got to figure if he can get the Mentor back again.
That's a 3/3.
Like, how is Javier going to get around a Mentor and also his own Annex? Like,
well,
that's a lot.
He's got to hope that his demon lives, right? Because then you start gaining life.
But
right?
I just feel like the Mentor's going to spit out enough things to get it through for 4.
Well, he has another removal spell, and now he's made a demon. He's up to 6 now.
Okay. He answered my question. No doubt about that.
Ely, do you have an answer
How
to
about
these demon tokens?
Double spell. It's still just 1 demon.
Right, but he can make another one next turn. Okay.
It's exercise to take it out.
Didn't kill the Annex.
Now Javier can unlock
is Javier
another
at 4?
demon. Yes.
I thought he was at 6.
He was at 6.
Okay, so now if Ely has an instant speed removal spell for a demon, Javier will die to his own Unholy Annexes. Soul Partition into the Floodmaw?
He still has a locked Annex on the second one, right?
Oh, you're absolutely correct.
Because he went for the demon.
Right, you're absolutely correct. So this is just down to 2. And Ely doesn't have an answer.
Oh, boy. This could turn around very, very quickly.
No negate.
Oh, and he's going to negate.
Wow. Javier seemingly with all the answers here.
He has had it all. And Eli Kassis only plays pick, lock, prankster, and passes.
I think Javier is on the verge of just turning this around completely. I wonder, there's a good chance Eli just boarded out a lot of interaction here just because there's not that many creatures on in Javier's deck.
How has Javier answered
He's
all of these threats? 2-turn clock.
Okay, target himself. That's an attack for 10.
I mean, he must assume that Eli Kassis has nothing.
Right.
He would have done it while he was tapped out.
Would have killed the demon?
For sure. So he's going to go double Bronco, set up lethal. Go back up to 10, you go to 9. Can Kassis find an answer? At this point, would it even be enough? No, it's Javier Dominguez again into the top 8 here at the World Championship. Eli Kassis is going to have to live to fight another day.
That was absurd.
Insane game to finish on, too.
Javier, what a season here for Javier. And now I'm going to let Monty break it down later in the break. But I'm wondering now, is Player of the Year?
Oh, it's on the table tomorrow now. It's on the table tomorrow now. Yeah, Javier was one of the few people. Another one was Seth Manfield. He's also in the top 8, by the way, who have a chance to steal that from Simon. So these are big storylines coming together, you know, as we near the end of the day here at the World Championship. But what a game. I cannot believe that Javier was able to answer every single one of those things that Eli put out. It was Monastery Mentor like 4 times.
More, I think it was
5?
At least 5, right?
And he somehow found the answer every single time.
Right, and Eli wasn't able to get the Mentor in play and play multiple spells, right? Every time it was a Mentor and maybe 1 token. If he was able to get multiple tokens in play, the spot removal spells would be a lot less effective, but he wasn't able to do that. Javier had the answer, and hey, you know, we talk about how he took 8 damage there from the Unholy Annex, but guess what? Also drew a bunch of cards, allowed him to find more interactive spells and get him there right as he was super close to dying.
And near the end of the game, the Annex gave him 4 life back, right?
Exactly.
It giveth and it taketh away. But ultimately, it was Javier Dominguez who was able to get the job done. We're going to take a short break here from Las Vegas. When we come back, though, we'll be back at the news desk setting the next round of action up. Don't go anywhere.